Okay, today I want to show you how to complete the group solid tutorial. That way you can have this video going and follow along with it and then ask me or whichever teacher's in the room if you're working on this and having some trouble. So what we're doing is we're creating this shape right here in 3D. We're calling it a yoke. You might think of it as like a U-joint on the axle of a car or truck, not the axle, on the drive shaft, I should say, of a car or truck, something like that. It has other functions too, but that's one of the main places you might see this in your life. So we're going to start out with this. If you look at the second box here, we're going to start by drawing 3 boxes in AutoCAD. And these are the 2D dimensions. If I'm looking down from the top, the instructions on the left will walk me through a little bit of what I need to do to get it in 3D. So to draw the basic shapes, it says pick solids from the drawdown menu, start a box at 0.3, 2. Now these instructions are a little bit older, so I'll show you where those buttons are. The first thing you should do before you get started, go ahead and download your template, open that up, and you're going to save as, and go ahead and save it as Yoke. So here I am in my template. My template might look just slightly different from yours because I have done a few other things that you haven't had to do yet. Hang on. Okay, there we go. I was trying to zoom all, and I must have had some typos in there. And the screencastify thing here is kind of in my way. Okay, so I'm here. I'm going to go to Save As. I'm going to name it Yoke. I think the problem is I probably clicked Save As, and it took too long to load. There we go. So we'll call it Yoke. Y-O-K-E, not like egg yolk, which is Y-O-L-K. Save that to the desktop, save it to the downloads, wherever you're going to be able to find it. Before class is over, you're going to want to add it to box.com so you don't lose all your progress. Okay. A couple things to make sure of. To start, I want to make sure I'm in 3D modeling. I should see box up here, extrude, and some other things like that. If you're in drafting and annotation, down here at the gear, go ahead and choose 3D modeling. Then the next thing I want to do, I want to make sure I'm looking at it from a southwest isometric view. And you want to make sure that should take you automatically to this corner right here of your view cube. And then it's a good idea, instead of 2D wireframe, to go to X-ray. That just makes it a little bit handier to see what's going on. Okay, so it says to start a box at 0.3, 2. So I come up here to the box button, I go ahead and click it. It tells me to specify my first corner, so I do 3, 2, enter. And then it lets me, if I move my mouse, if I don't do anything else, it tells me to specify other corner or cube length. I do want to specify a length, but often, a lot of times, it's helpful to come down here and click this ortho mode and make sure that's on or that it's highlighted in blue. And then I'm going to hit L on the keyboard for length. And then I can type in the length that I want. The length that I want in this one is 5 units long. And my ortho just turned off on me. I don't know why it did that, but I turned it back on. Got my 5. I noticed it was off because the angle was kind of funky. So then we'll hit enter. Now it wants me to specify the width. The width of this is 1/2 of a unit, so 0.5. And then I want to make sure, right now, if you look, it's really sometimes not easy to see, but it's actually dragging this down into the work plane, below the work plane. To make things easier, I want to make sure it's going up. So I start with my mouse going up. I kind of start telling AutoCAD kind of what I want, and then I tell it the unit that I want. And that's kind of a fast, easy way of getting things to the right shape. So I want that height to be 3 units. If you look down here in the text box where it says box, specify height. So I'll go 3. Okay, there is one of my 3 boxes. Now it says in the instructions, if I go back there, That's one. Make 2 more boxes as shown to the right with a height of 3 units each. So they're all going to be the same thickness or width. That's going to be 0.5. This one's going to have a length of 3, and this one's going to have a length of 5. So I'm going to make one other box identical to what I already made, and then I'm going to have this one in between those. So I'm going to make this box next. So I'll come over here in Southwest Isometric. I'm actually going to start the corner of that box right here. So if you don't have this little icon, the show snap it, nope, that's not the right one, this one. The snap cursor to 2D reference points. If you don't have that blue, you want to click that, turn that on, and then just make sure that you get a box in the corner. I'm clicking right there on that endpoint. Then I'm going to start giving AutoCAD the dimension I want, the direction I want, I should say. Then I'm going to type length, and I'm going to type in a length of 3. That's 3 inches long. The width is, I'm going to start pulling that way. The width is 0.5. And sometimes it does this. It'll go the way it wants to go anyway, but I can deal with that. I know that it's 3 inches tall. It says down here, right there, it already says 3, so I don't have to type 3 again. I can just hit enter. If you type 3 again, it doesn't do anything other than what you wanted it to do, so either way. Okay, now what I need to do, if yours looks like this has a little bit of, it's got a 90-degree angle here that it shouldn't have. It should be flush. So what I'm going to do is click the Move tool, which I already did, but I'll click it again. Choose the shape I want to move. I want to move this one because my other one started at the absolute coordinate. I don't need to mess with that. I'm going to hit Enter and come down here to this corner, and then I will click into this endpoint right there. So now it's sitting flush. If I looked at it from this view, it is butted up there against that one. Now there's a couple ways I can start my next box. I can do a box here, and I can click this corner. I can do a length. I can do 5. I can do a width of 0.5. And then I can do my height. Again, that was going to start going down. It should start to come up, and that's going to be 3. That's one way to do it. And if I look at that. My ortho was not on, and so it's a little bit off on the angle. Now I could try to rotate, but sometimes that can be a little funky, so it's just as easy to come down here to box, make sure my ortho is back on. I don't know why it keeps bullying me and turning it off, but I'm going to go here. I'm going to draw it up with ortho on, make sure the line is going the right way, type L. 5, enter, 0.5, enter, and pull up, and then hit enter again because it already has 3 in there. And now I can see I do not have that same gap, so those are flush. Okay. Let's see what we need to do now. So, if I look back at my instructions, it says go to the southeast isometric 3D viewpoint. Should look similar to this one over here. It says things are on the left that aren't on the left. This thing has been redone a couple times. We're going to make a UCS on the face closest to you, and that's going to be a coordinate system. We're going to put what I call a work plane onto a face of the object so we have a little more control over how things are oriented. So I'll come over here. Southeast isometric, I can either click on this corner, or I can come over to here and click Southeast Isometric. Either way is okay. So this time I need to start a cylinder. So I'm jumping ahead of myself. Before I do that, I need to get started on the surface I'm going to work on. So I'm going to choose this. This is 3-point. And I want it to be on this surface out toward me right here. So I click this. I'm going to click my first corner. So I'm going to go to the first bottom left corner there. I need to move a little bit my view. I need to pan. Click that endpoint there, and then I'm going to come up and I'm going to click this endpoint there. So when you select 3 things, you can define a plane. You might remember that from like a geometry class. You can define a plane by 3 points. So I'm working in this plane here. So you'll notice X is now going this way, Y is this way, and Z is this way. So things have changed that way. that's temporary, and that's fine. So I go over to my box tool. The next thing I need is a cylinder, and I'll choose that. It tells me to put the center point of my cylinder at 3.5. So if I look down here, it's going to ask, where do you want the cylinder center? So I want it at 3.5, comma 1.5. That's right out of the instructions. Uh-oh. It didn't like that. We're going to try that again. Cylinder. 3.5, comma 1.5. There we go. Well, you know, AutoCAD sometimes can be a little funky. And then now it tells me specify the base radius. The radius I need on this from the instructions, 0.75. And then I'm going to start in the direction I want to go. The height of this is going to be negative 0.5. And you could say negative because Z is going out this way on this coordinate system. And that would be positive to move this way, so I want to go negative. So I'm going to go negative 0.5. Enter. There we go. There's one. Good deal. So now let me move back to my instructions. Now I need to copy this cylinder 3.5 units in the negative direction. So copy works just like move and just like some of the other modify commands. It's right up here. Looks like a circle. It looks like you're taking something and you're making a couple copies of it, right? So we'll click on that, and the first thing it tells me, like a lot of the modify commands, select object. So I want to select my cylinder. And now sometimes you might have it where it's going to select the whole box that we made and the cylinder. Sometimes it'll pull up a window and ask you which shape you want to pick. Just choose whichever option is going to get the cylinder selected by itself. Select the object, hit enter, and now it's going to say choose a base point. I want to choose this base point or this base point because either of those are my center, and no matter where I grab this from, if I move it the same distance, it'll end up in the right place. So I'm going to choose to move it 3.5 in the negative, so I'm going to click that base point. I say I'm going to click that base point. Now there we go. And we're going to move that negative 3.5. Well, that just didn't go. That went positive 3.5. So let me start moving it out this way. We'll go negative 3.5. There we go. So it wanted to go the opposite of the direction I started it, which sort of makes sense, I suppose. Okay, so now we've got, I'm going to hit escape so I don't make extra copies. We've got a good chunk of this thing done already. So we've got kind of the start of our yoke. We've got a few steps left to get through. So come back to my instructions, copied that, pick copy and select the cylinder. All those things we just did. This is a good time to return to the world coordinate system. So let's go back here. Now the world coordinate system, this is what we start with. We're going to click on this button. Like we got the X and Y coordinates. We got the world there. The whole world's in our hands. And there it goes. That's back to normal. That's how it started. So we're good. We go back to our instructions. We look here. To modify solids, click Boolean from the Modify menu. Now you're ready to combine solids into one composite shape. Select the Union command, then pick each of the 3 boxes and press Enter. The idea of this, right now we see our boxes and we see lines. They're 3 separate objects, so we need to basically glue them together, but it's actually more than that. We're going to just make them one object. So we're going to come back to AutoCAD, and we're going to go to Boolean.